And as the world struggles to cut back on greenhouse gas emissions, a plan to buy us more time by redirecting sunlight into space to cool the Earth is faltering. Julie Yu explains.
Despite increasing investment interest, stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, remains mired in controversy and debate. Now, for decades, scientists have been studying this field of solar geoengineering. And the plan was to artificially reduce temperatures while the world figures out how to cut greenhouse gas emissions and slow global warming. And the premise is a simple one: to create conditions in the stratosphere that naturally occur when volcanoes erupt and spew particulates into the atmosphere that cool the planet. Now, the human intervention would involve deploying delivery systems like customized airplanes to spray reflective sulfate aerosol particles into the stratosphere, like those from a volcanic eruption. These tiny reflective particles would redirect sunlight away from Earth and into space. High-altitude balloons or blimps or even artillery can be used to disperse the aerosols. Simple, yes. Feasible, maybe. But controversial, definitely. Now, the science isn't yet fully understood, but there remain profound concerns over ethics and lack of governance. In New York, Sally Patterson speaks to environmental scholar Michael Gerard and how he thinks solar geoengineering should only be a last resort.
If you're very sick and you have no other alternative, you can try chemotherapy. It might make you very sick, it might kill you, but if it's the only option you have, you might try it. With solar geoengineering, it is the very last resort.
It's a highly controversial scientific approach to climate change, which tries to reduce the amount of solar radiation hitting the surface of the Earth in order to cool it.
There are some other proposals that would be much higher in space.
Environmental legal scholar Professor Michael Gerard knows more about the risks involved than most.
One of the big problems with solar geoengineering is it can have massive side effects that we don't even begin to understand. All of life on the planet has evolved over eons based on the amount of sunlight that is hitting the Earth. Our vegetation, the oceans, everything else have evolved to reflect the amount of sunlight. If we alter that, we have very little idea of what it'll do. The second, third, fourth order effects are really completely unknown, and so it is scary. It is even terrifying to try to do this on a large scale.
Now, there haven't been any formal international negotiations on geoengineering. Why is that? What's getting in the way?
There's virtually no governance of solar geoengineering. It could be done unilaterally by a country or even by a very rich individual without requiring any kind of special permits. There is no international agreement and almost no national or subnational governance of solar geoengineering.
Professor Gerard says that could lead to international tensions if agreements aren't adopted. Several private companies in the US claim they're already using the technology, but experts say this could just be a lot of hot air.
This is an effort by a couple of non-scientists to engage in experiments that have not undergone any peer review or other scientific review. There are major questions about whether they would actually have any beneficial effect.
There is another critical issue around solar geoengineering: the risk that it would take attention away from real action to fight climate change. Researchers say it could be part of the solution to slowing global warming, but they stress it can't replace phasing out fossil fuels and moving towards net zero as soon as possible. Sally Patterson, CNA, New York.